Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is your latest Rangers news, guys. We are, Tuesday today? Tuesday the 8th of July, guys. We're fast approaching the 22nd. We're fast approaching the European squad deadline. And you know what? The rumours, the stories, they come thick and they come fast towards Govan and towards Glasgow in terms of who's coming, who's staying, who's going, and what Rangers will look like for that first European tie. We've got news of two strikers that may be on their way to Rangers, both of whom wouldn't actually cost a transfer fee, which is very interesting indeed. Both of them in the twilights of their careers. And we've also got a bit of news about Pröpper and his potential departure this week, and it has to be this week if it's going to happen at all. We'll talk a little bit of Pröpper as well later on in the video, so please obviously hang on for that. Right, we're going to start off with the striker stories. Look, we all know the big rumour about the veteran striker has been around Jamie Vardy, the former England international, the FA Cup and Premier League winning player from Leicester City. The guy is once described as the greatest player in Leicester City's history. But considering they had Gary Lineker, it's a pretty decent achievement. A guy who probably will be immortalised as a statue outside the Walker's Crisp Bowl at some point. A guy who is, you know, a bit of a personality, a bit of a character. I mean, I've got to say, I do love the whole situation with him drinking a Red Bull before he comes onto play the game. I mean, you normally see players taking on water, don't you? He's on there having a can of Red Bull before he comes in. He's always been a little bit of a character ever since coming from non-league football to play in the professional game. And look, Jamie Vardy at 38 would be a bit of a risk. Of course he would. He's 38 years old. You never know when a player is going to kind of fall off the edge or you know, it's all going to come crashing down around his ears. That's always the risk, isn't it? But Vardy is a class act. And you know, people say, well, you use the argument that we should sell Cyril Dessers at 31 because he's too old, he's over the hill. But, you know, that's like comparing, I don't know, it's like comparing Kylian Mbappe to Fred Bullocks, who plays for the Dog and Duck, isn't it? It's like comparing Messi to, you know, your Uncle Steve who kicks the ball around the back garden, you know, comparing Dessers to Vardy. You know, Vardy is someone who has played at the very highest level, you know, has played in the English Premier League, has won the English Premier League, has won the FA Cup, has been the Golden Boot winner in the English Premier League, has played on an international stage for a proper international nation. You know, this is a top player, as opposed to Cyril Dessers, who's won jack shit in his career and, you know, plays for Nigeria. But there we go. Look, so Vardy is a top player. You can see from his goals to games ratio as well, his goals per minute ratio, all vastly superior. Now, the latest name that has been linked with Rangers comes via the player's former manager. So you know there's got to be a bit of truth in this, that it's not just paper talk when this comes up. He's younger than Vardy, funnily enough, 4 years younger than Vardy. He's 34 years old, so you know possibly another 2 or 3 years in him yet. Never a guy who's ever relied on his pace either. Right place, right time. A guy who's in the past hurt us, scoring against us for PSV Eindhoven, and that is Luuk de Jong. Luuk de Jong, obviously, now why is this Luuk de Jong link come up? Well, Peter Bosz, who is the manager of PSV Eindhoven, was asked about Luuk de Jong post, obviously, title celebrations. PSV obviously had an unlikely title win last season in the Eredivisie. They were at 1.9, I think it was 9 or 11 points behind Ajax. Ajax suffered a bit of a collapse, and PSV were there to take their 25th Eredivisie title. Luuk de Jong figured in that title-winning side, scoring 14 goals in a much tougher league. In all, last season he contributed 14 goals, 8 assists, 22 goal contributions in 31 games in the Eredivisie. And, you know, before anyone comes back with Dessers scored 18 in the SPL and Eggman scored 16 in the... Yeah. Guys, come on, let's get a bit of perspective on this. The Eredivisie is a tougher league than the Scottish Premier League. You've got Ajax, you've got Feyenoord, you've got Twente, you've got PSV, you know, and even then outside of those teams, you've still got AZ Alkmaar, who are a tough team to get, tough team to beat. You know, there are other tough teams within the Eredivisie. So, you know, it's a very much a different league to our league. The Eredivisie is a tougher league. You know, it really genuinely is. I mean, looking at last season, you know, Utrecht finished 4th. There's another top team. The Go Ahead Eagles finished 7th. NEC Nijmegen 8th. Herenveen, that's another good side, 9th. Zwolle 10th, Fortuna Sittard 11th, Sparta Rotterdam 12th, Groningen 13th, Heracles 14th, and NAC Breda 15th. So it is a league that is tougher. It's an 18-team league. They play each other twice, not 4 times. So it is an inherently tougher league than our league. So 14 goals in that league is pretty decent. I mean, he finished 3rd overall highest scorer in the Eredivisie. The highest scorer was Sam Stein, who scored 27 from midfield for Twente. Ahead of him was Igor Paschal, or how you pronounce his name, from Feyenoord, who scored 16. So Luuk de Jong, look, it's a name. It's a link. This is a guy who has, throughout his career, apart from when he went to Newcastle, been very successful, has scored goals wherever he's played, and he's played in a fair few different places. Looking over Luuk de Jong's career and where he's actually been and actually played during very much a medal-filled career. He started off at the Graafschap in Holland before going to play for Twente. He then went to Borussia Mönchengladbach in Germany. He then had that disastrous loan spell at Newcastle before coming back to PSV. He then went to Spain, played for Sevilla and Barcelona. Barcelona was a loan. He then came back to PSV. He also has 39 caps for his country. In his most recent even spell with PSV Eindhoven, he scored 74 goals in 134 games for them in the last 4 seasons. With Barcelona, he scored 7 in 29 in La Liga, 112 in 204 for PSV in his first spell. He's a guy who has scored goals, and most of his goals have come in the Eredivisie, which obviously is a little bit of a concern. It's a bit Sam Lammers-esque, isn't it, and a bit of a worry. Looking at his overall stats and where he's played in the football he's played, you can see, look, Eredivisie obviously is the place that he's been most successful. 337 appearances in the Eredivisie, 192 goals, 192 goals, 100 assists. So 292 goal contributions in 337. That's pretty good. Averaging a goal every 143 minutes, which is pretty decent. A goal every 143 minutes is comparable with some of the better strikers, guys. So that's a pretty good stat for me, for him. La Liga, he scored 16 in 90, averaging a goal 249 minutes. Okay, that is not as great. Certainly not as great. What else we got? You played in the Champions League as well. 14 goals in 51 games. Played in the Europa League, the Bundesliga, the KNVB Cup, the Champions League qualifiers. Played in the Premier League. Played in the Copa del Rey, the Johan Cruyff Shield, the Europa League qualifying, playoffs, the Conference League, German Cup, UEFA Super Cup. So he's had a pretty decent record. Averages a goal every 148 minutes in what has been a storied career. Like I said, with a number of very tricky clubs and places to play. So this is the overall picture of Luuk de Jong. Now, look. There's been talks. He's out of contract. He's a free agent. Now, is this Rangers just doing their due diligence and talking to everyone who's a free agent, talking to players who are free agents and looking at, what's out there? Is this a possibility? Now, Luuk de Jong apparently is open to a move to Rangers. Apparently is interested in a move to Rangers. Look, I've got to say, I'm not 100% against the move. I'm not 100% for the move. I'm very much on the fence with this one. The guy's got a very good goal-scoring record, don't get me wrong, but it's not just his goal-scoring record in terms of the leadership he brings. He was captain of PSV Eindhoven. He is a leader. He has a vast CV of playing at some of the best clubs in Europe. Sevilla, Barcelona, for example, Newcastle United, etc., etc. So he's got a pretty good CV. My only real big worry I have 2 big worries about Luuk de Jong. One is his age, obviously at 34. That is a big concern for me. It is a big worry that 34 years old, that he's getting older and he's a player who could fall off. My other concern as regards Luuk de Jong is his goal scoring record outside of Holland. Now, his goal scoring record in Holland is absolutely outstanding. Do not get me wrong. With all the clubs he's been at in Holland, he has been absolute with Twente and with PSV. He has been brilliant. Don't get me wrong. In the Eredivisie, this is a top striker, a blue chip talent in the Eredivisie. Okay, but as we've seen in the past, Dutch players, some Dutch players, not all Dutch players, don't get me wrong, the Marco van Bastens, the Ruud Hullits, the Dennis Bergkamps of this world, the De Boers, etc. My personal play for Rangers, Michael Moles. These are guys who have succeeded outside of the Eredivisie and scored goals outside of the Eredivisie. But there are an equal number of players who, outside of the Eredivisie, have failed abysmally. You've got to look obviously at De Jong at Newcastle, Robin Pröpper, okay, not a goal scorer, but still playing outside the Eredivisie, failed abysmally at Rangers. Sam Lammers played in Germany, played in Italy, played in England. Plus, not played in England, played in Scotland, sorry. Been a disaster. Not been a great player. Not done well at all outside the Eredivisie. Goes back to the Eredivisie, looks like a player. So, that is my big concern over Luuk de Jong. He's never really been massively prolific and massively fantastic outside of his native Holland. And that is the big concern for me, the big worry. And at 34, realistically, he isn't going to develop. He isn't going to get better. He's not suddenly alarmingly going to become, the next Kylian Mbappe, the next Harry Kane or whatever. He isn't going to miraculously turn into this superstar striker, 34 years old. So that is my one giant worry over him and bringing him to the club. If I had to choose between the two, between Vardy and between De Jong, I know De Jong is 4 years younger, but I would take Vardy, because of the fact that Vardy has done it at the highest level in this country, in Britain, in this country, in the EPL, for Leicester City, has played for England, has won the EPL, has won the FA Cup. He's won the two biggest prizes in English domestic football. He's done it against some of the best teams in English football. He scored goals against Liverpool, against Arsenal, against Chelsea, against Manchester City, against Manchester United. He's done it at the very highest level in the strongest league in the world. So for me, out of the two of them, I'd be taking, if we do take one, Vardy over De Jong. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this great striker debate. Right, let's talk a little bit of Robin Pröpper to finish off with. Now, Robin Pröpper started the game on Sunday against Club Brugge, and he was absolutely dreadful. I mean, he was an unmitigated disaster. Him and Leon King. I mean, look, Leon King, young lad, bless him. It was like Barry and Paul Chuckle playing football. I mean, it really genuinely was. It wasn't funny. Don't get me wrong. It was not funny. It was awful. But it was like the Chuckle brothers trying to play football. It was like Mr. Tumble and Mr. Blobby being the central defender for Rangers. It genuinely was that bad. Pröpper looked like a cat caught in the headlights. He was out of position. His defensive work was poor. His passing was poor. He genuinely looked dreadful. And, I think for a lot of Rangers fans, this is not a surprise. It isn't a surprise. And, he was so bad. So bad. And yes, second half we got better, but let's face it, anything would have been an improvement on Robin Pröpper, no matter who you brought on at centre-back, even probably putting Russell Martin at centre-back or bringing in Mike Williamson, even at his age at centre-back, probably would have been a huge improvement on Robin Pröpper. But the news is that Twente are keen to have Pröpper back. They like him, he's their former captain, they think he's a good player. Again, he's one of these players who, Eredivisie, top player, outside the Eredivisie, looks like a pub player. So, apparently Twente, this is according to Dutch media, so again you've got to take these reports with a little pinch of salt on the side, because it's the media, and we all know the media like to make shit up. They're saying that Twente have placed a deadline of this week on this move, that they're saying that if Pröpper is going to come back to Twente, it's got to be done this week. If it's not done this week, it's off. That is the story, okay? So, look, I mean, I don't know if that's true, not true, if there's some truth in it, what the story is. But that's what is being reported by multiple outlets in Holland. That's the thing. So it's not just coming from one Dutch source, it's coming from multiple Dutch sources. Look, if this is true, I really hope Rangers can get something done this week and get Pröpper out of the club. Look, you've come, Robin, you've tried, it's not worked out, you've been poor. It's not doing you any good. It's not, and I can't, look for the lad. I can't imagine it's doing him any good. I genuinely don't think that he's enjoying his football. I don't think he's enjoying playing. He doesn't look like he's enjoying it. And look, one of the big things, and I know this is a really stupid saying because a lot of people, I think, hate their jobs. I think, with the exception of perhaps Premier League footballers, Formula One racing drivers, and, I don't know, porn stars, who enjoys their job? Realistically, who likes their job? Who actually enjoys going to work? But, you have to kind of have some enjoyment in going to work. And I'm sure that Robin Pröpper's got very little enjoyment in actually the playing side of it. You might enjoy training. But, going back to 20, I think would be the right move for him. It'd be the right move for the club. Yes, we'd have to take a loss on him. But at the end of the day, sometimes you've got to cut your coat according to your cloth. You've just got to go, right, you know what? Good luck to yous. All the best, mate. Take care. Have a good one. I think that's what we've got to do with him. We've just cut our losses. We allow him to go. And that's it. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Would you let him go this week? I certainly would. I hope the club do. Wish him all the best. Look, I've got no ill feeling towards him. I don't, don't hate him. Don't dislike the player. I've got no strong feelings towards Robin Pröpper. Just wish the lad all the best if he does go back to 20. Just hope he isn't obviously at Ibrox at the start of the season. Other bits and pieces of news. According to stories, Robbie Matondo is returning to Rangers and will be returning to training. He's just been slowed down apparently by a niggle, an injury that he's carrying, but will be coming back to the club and will be trying to impress Russell Martin. God help us all. Although I will say one thing about Robbie Matondo. There was a spell, wasn't there, at the start of last season when he actually looked a player. When he actually did look a player. Who knows? Can Russell Martin unlock something in Robbie Matondo? You can but hope, especially if we can't get rid of him. Look, guys, I know there's players we'd all love to get rid of. Dowell, Davis, Matondo, Cifuentes, people like that. But look, realistically, you can only sell what people are going to buy. And if they don't want to buy, you're stuck with them. And you've got to try and get the best out of them. You can't have them just sat on the sidelines on 20 grand a week doing absolutely jack shit for you. So maybe, hopefully, Russell Martin can get a tune out of Mr. Robbie Matondo. Guys, again, let me know your thoughts on the Robbie Matondo situation. Well, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. Bit of a later video today. Just knackered last night, couldn't make a video. Thank you for watching. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Wishing you all the best. Speak to you soon. Take care, guys. Smash that like.